Yep, we're doing this. All right, going straight up over to the article from Wikipedia. American folk music encompasses numerous music genres, variously known as traditional music, traditional folk music, contemporary, or roots music. Many traditional songs have been sung within the same family or folk group for generations. That is key, direct roots and link to your tribe. Period. End of statement. Kaboo. Let me read that one more time because it's important. Many traditional songs have been sung within the same family or folk group for generations and sometimes trace back to such origins, listen clear, as Great Britain, Europe, or Africa. I would also add Ireland, huh? Norway, they generalized, right? The Dutch, Pennsylvania, Dutch, etc. Music, okay, here we go. Musician Mike Seeger once famously commented that the definition of American folk music is all the music that fits between the cracks. Here we go. Roots music is a broad category of music including bluegrass, the Irish, the Scottish, gospel, old time music, jug bands, boom, 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 right? Appalachian folk, hillbilly, rockin' chair, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Blues, Cajun, and Native American music. The music is considered American either because it is native to the United States or because it developed there out of foreign origins to such a degree that it struck musicologists as something distinctly new. It considered roots music because it served as the basis of music later developed in the United States, including rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and jazz, baby. Oh, yeah. Right? Keep going. Oh, early American folk music. Most songs of the colonial fletch and revolutionary period originated in England, Scotland, and Ireland. As they were driven out of Ireland. Due to an induced famine, not the potato famine, whatever, blight, bullshit. Took all the food, meat, and everything, outlawed the language. Yep. Irish Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic, right? They're related. Same with Welsh, related, my opinion. All right. So I'm going to read that line one more time. Very important. Early American folk music. Most songs of the colonial Fletch and Revolutionary period originated in England, Scotland, and Ireland and were brought over by the early settlers. Barbara Allen remains a popular traditional ballad originating in England and Scotland, which immigrants introduced to the United States. Oh, wow. The murder ballad, Pretty Polly, is an American version of an earlier British song, The Gosport Tragedy. Wow. Okay. Spirituals. Okay. African American folk music, or I would add black or black traditional music in the area has roots in slavery and emancipation. Sacred music, both a cappella and instrumentally accompanied. That means vocals only. A cappella, got it? Cappella, right, is at the heart of the tradition. So if you couldn't afford an instrument, you were poor, right? You still had your voice, spoon, whatever you had to do to make music. You figured it out. Jugs, boom, 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 something. Early spirituals blamed Christian beliefs with native practices. Oh, native code for folk, and were heavily influenced by the music and rhythms of Africa. That makes sense. Drumming, big deal. Primordial ancient origins. Yep. Spirituals are prominent and often use a call and response pattern. Yes, this makes sense in almost any tribal situation. You would send something, then something would return. Yep. Gospel developed after the Civil War, 1861 to 65. I also might add that I grew up playing West African rhythms, and then improvisations. You would have multiple instruments showing up, folk instruments, and nobody was in conflict. Nope, no racism, no horse shit. Everybody gathered together and just jammed in the park, right? Yeah, pagans, like this is our form of church. Like the Mormons go to church, we go to the park and play music. Yep. It relied on biblical text for much of its direction, and the use of metaphors and imagery was common. So visualization, right? Um, Representation of characters representing multiple meanings, like archetypes. Got it? Gospel is a joyful noise, sometimes accompanied by instrumentation, and almost always punctuated by hand clapping, toe tapping, and body movement. So that's body language, important. All right? This is interesting. Work songs. Sea shanties. Shanties. Main article, sea shanty. That sounds awesome. Sea shanties function to lighten the burden of routine tasks and provide a rhythm that helped workers perform as a team. Yep. Come on, working on the railroad, working all day. Yeah. Cowboy songs. Yippee-ki-yay, yo. Cowboy songs are typically ballads that cowboys sang in the West and Southwest. Hey, I'm in Utah. This is the original hideout for the outlaws, Sundance, right? Butch Cassidy, I'm the Sundance Kid. Yup. Used to hang out, hide in the canyons. My dad told me about that. He's like, yep, big time criminals come here and hide. They don't do shit here. They go do it elsewhere and then come back here to hide out in the conservative climate. Like, really? He's like, yep, the familiar streets of the Laredo or Cowboys Lament. Ah, Keening. Oh, look what they go to next. Derives from an Irish folk song of the late 18th century called The Unfortunate Rake, which in turn appears to have descended from the even earlier, the Bard of Armagh. Ooh, that sounds cool. All right, click. I can't help. That's just much candy for me to resist. Oh, here we go. Yup. Okay. The Bard of Armagh, Armagh, is an Irish ballad. It is often attributed to Patrick Donnelly. He was made Bishop of Dromore in 1697, the same year as the enactment of the Bishop's Banishment Act. Oh shit, sounds serious. Oh my god. Okay, I'm clicking, and then I'll come back and finish that. The Banishment Act was an act of the Parliament of Ireland. Citation 9 Will 3. That's three eyes, whatever. C.1, whatever. One of a series of penal laws. Oh, now we're getting big time. Penal laws. Workhouses. Oh, kicking the Irish off their land. Oh, look, series of penal laws passed in 1697 that banished, holy shit, all bishops of the Roman Catholic Church from Ireland. Wow. To protect the official stage. Two wings, same bird, baby. The Church of Ireland. The long title of the act is an act of banishing all papists. Papal bull? Ah, exercising any ecclesiastical jurisdiction and all regular of the popish clergy out of this kingdom. Get out. That's what they said. We will not be having Catholic bishops here. No. Okay, that's it. That's the end of that article. On to the rest of this one. Donnelly is believed to have taken the name of the traveling harper Phelim Brady. The Irish language version appears to have been lost. Bullshit. Irish Gaelic. The song itself, I have a book on so I know the differences. I know there is an Irish language that is specific to the Irish people. Ah, here we go. Yes. The song itself, like many heroic rebel outlaw ballads, dates from the mid 19th century, when it was printed as a broadside ballad in Dublin. The same melody is used in the songs Prison, Las Priosun, Kulan, Miala. I don't know how to say that correctly, but it means the jail of Clonmel. The sailor cut down in his prime. It's a song, I guess. And the streets of Laredo. Vince Gill recorded a version of three versions of this song, followed by three versions of the streets of Laredo on the album Long Journey Home, a compilation of songs about Irish immigration, the links between Irish and American folk and country music. featuring various Irish and British Irish artists in 1998. Boom. I think I was 22 at the time. Lyrics. Oh, list to the lay of a poor Irish harper. Oh, list to the lay of a poor Irish harper, and scorn not the strings in his old withered hands, but remember those fingers, they once could move sharper to raise up the strings of his dear native land. And it was long before the shamrock, the dear outloved emblem, was crushed in its beauty by the Saxon lion's paw. I was called by the colleens around me, assembly their bold Phelan Brady, the bond of the more. How I love to muse on the days of my boyhood, though fourscore and 3 years I have fitted since then, still it gives sweet reflection as every first joy should for free hearted boys make the best of old men. And at the fair or the wake, I could twirl Michelet or trip through a jig with my brogues bound with straw. Faith, all the pretty girls in the village and the valley, love gold, Phelan Brady, the bard of Armagh. And now though I have wandered this wide world over, still Ireland's my home and a parent to me. Then oh, let the turf that my bosom shall cover be cut from the ground that is trod by the free. And when in his cold arms death shall embrace me, och, lull me asleep with sweet Erin go broad by the side of my Kathleen, my first love. Then place me, then forget feeling Brady, the bottom of more. And that's the end of that article. The Bard of Armagh, back to where we were, American folk music. That was cool. I very much enjoyed that. Okay, so the Bard of Armagh, period. While Streets of Laredo uses the same melody as The Unfortunate Rake, St. James Infirmary Blues adapts the story to a different tune. This illustrates how folk songs can change in the retelling and appear in a variety of versions. Yes, absolutely. Railroad songs. Yeah, now we go. The Ballad of John Henry, folklore, is about an African American folk hero said to have worked as a steel driving man. He's a steel driving man. Yep. Welcome to the railroad. Put your hammer down. All right, next. Roots music. Many roots musicians do not consider themselves folk musicians. The main difference between the American folk music revival and American roots music is that roots music seems to cover a broader range, including blues and country. All right? Roots music developed in its most expressive and varied forms in the 3 decades of the 20th century. The Great Depression and the Dust Bowl were extremely important in disseminating these musical styles to the rest of the country as Delta blues masters in itinerant honky tonk singers, Cajun musicians spread to cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. The growth of the recording industry in the same period was also important. Higher potential profits from music placed pressure on the artists, songwriters, and label executives to replicate previous hit songs. So they're copying our folk music. Hear me? And then they're putting different lyrics over it. That's what they do, including from other artists that are lesser known on the web, right? They'll steal their shit. Yep, they don't care. They'll sell it. That's why I didn't want to upload my music because I was like, that's probably going to happen, you know? I'm like, well, you're not that great. I'm like, whatever. I'm not trying to be the biggest rock star in the world. I'm a folk musician, period, end of statement. I'm just, intuitive and, you know, I want to go back and learn, but I didn't have that opportunity growing up. Anyway, replicate previous hit songs. Key note, including our folk stories, sold and packaged. This meant that musical fads such as Hawaiian slack key guitar never died out completely since a broad range, this includes the islands having an impact on music too. Yes, absolutely. Mellow, doom chicka do, on the island, chicka chicka, right? Never died out completely since a broad range of rhythms, instruments, and vocal stylings were incorporated into disparate popular genres. Of course, they were. By the 1950s, forms of roots music had led to pop-oriented forms, the cheesification, the ruining of music, in my opinion. Catchy tunes. Doggy in the window. I don't give a shit about that lame ass bullshit. Folk musicians like the Kingston trio, blues derived rock and roll and rockabilly. I do like rockabilly. Right? Pop gospel, doo wop. I don't mind doo wop, I guess, and R&B. Later secularized further as soul music and the Nashville sound and country music, all modernized, expanded the musical palette of the country. The Roots approach to music emphasizes the diversity of American musical traditions, the genealogy of creative lineages and communities, and the innovative contributions of musicians working in these traditions today. In recent years, Roots music has been the focus of popular media programs such as Garrison's Keelore's public radio program, A Prairie Home Companion, and the feature film by the same name. Regional forms. American traditional music. I'm reading fast. Yeah, I'm making an effort. Regional forms. You got to swallow when you're doing that, though. You get all this saliva and you're like, or you're too dry and you're like, your mouth's sticking together while you're trying to read. Okay, back to focus. Regional forms. American traditional music is also called roots music. Roots music is a broad category of music, including blah, blah, blah. We already read all that shit. Thank you very much. Moving along. Ooh, yeah. Appalachian music. Welcome to the hillbilly country, the back swamp, baby. To the mountains, baby. Appalachian music is the traditional music of the region of Appalachia in the eastern United States. It derives from various European and African influences, including, note, English ballads, Irish and Scottish traditional music, especially fiddle music, hymns, and African American blues. Black American blues, for respect. First recorded in the 1920s, Appalachian musicians were a key influence on the early development of old time music. Country music and bluegrass were an important part of the American folk music revival. Boom. Instruments typically used to perform Appalachian music includes the banjo, American fiddle, fretted dulcimer. Oh yeah, we're getting folky now, and guitar. You know what a dulcimer is? Kind of like an hourglass, flat shape. You play it on your lap, as far as I know, right? With slide or something, or you can pluck as well, as far as I know. Early recorded Appalachian musicians include Fiddlin' John Carson. Sorry, that was cool. Fiddlin' John Carson, whatever. Henry Witter, Bascom Lamar, Lunsford, and Carter family. Ah, family band. Ah, lineage, passing of rights, rites of passage. Clarence Ashley, Frank Prophet, and Doc Falls, all of whom were initially recorded in the 1920s and 30s. Several Appalachian musicians obtained renown during the folk revival. That's probably why they shut it down, did all the pop horse shit, wanted to take over from the folk musicians, where the music came from of the 50s and 60s, including Gene Ritchie, Roscoe Holcomb, Ola Bell Reed, Lily Mae Ledford, and Doc Watson. That's kind of a cool name. What's your name? They call me the Doc. Doc Watson. It's my full name. You have a name? Yeah. I'm just joking. The Carter family was a traditional American folk music group that recorded between 1927 and 56. Their music had a profound impact on bluegrass, country, southern gospel, pop, and rock musicians. They were the first vocal group to become country music stars. Probably planned, infiltration, uh-huh. The beginning of the divergence of the country music from traditional folk music. Uh-huh. It's where they started to divide away from folk music, but they're still using our music of our people. Got that? That's right. Their recordings of such songs as Wabash, Cannonball, 1932, Will the circle be unbroken? I've heard that song. May the circle. No, I'm just kidding. Be unbroken. I'm just joking. 1935, Wildwood Flower. 1928, and Keep on the Sunny Side. I know that song. 1928 made them country standards. I don't know how to play it, I just recognize the title. Country and bluegrass artists such as Loretta Lynn, Roy Acuff, Dolly Parton, Earl Scruggs, Chet Atkins, and Don Reno were heavily influenced by traditional Appalachian music. No shit. Artists such as, see, mountain music, that's right. Artists such as Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, and Bruce Springsteen have performed Appalachian songs or rewritten, uh-huh, versions of Appalachian songs. Cajun music, an emblematic music of Louisiana, is rooted in the ballads of the French-speaking Acadians of Canada. Interesting. Cajun music is often mentioned in tandem with the Creole-based Cajun-influenced Zydeco form, both of Acadiana origin. These French Louisiana sounds have influenced American popular music for many decades, especially country music, and have influenced pop culture through mass media such as television commercials. Next portion. Oklahoma and southern U.S. plains. Before recording history, American Indians in this area used songs and instrumentation, music and dance, made the core of ceremonial and social activities. How can we say rites of passage, fertility rituals, fertility dances? Oh, stomp dance remains at its core, a call and response form. Instrumentation is provided by rattles or shackles worn on the legs of women. Wow. So even if you were enslaved, you were trying to make music. Whoa. Well, that's different. You know, they have bells and fancy dance with like Native American, right? Okay. Native peoples, the United States. Other southeastern nations have their own complexes of sacred and social songs, including those for animal dances, animism, and friendship dances, and songs that accompany stickball games. Central to the music of Southern Plains Indians is the drum, which has been called the heartbeat of the Plains Indian music. Most of that genre traces back to the hunting and warfare that was a strong part of Plains culture. During the reservation period, they frequently used music to relieve boredom and despair. Yes, Heart Song gives you hope. Neighbors gathered, exchanged, and created songs and dances. That is key. Let me read that again. Neighbors gathered. They didn't sit and play video games. Be like, I will talk to no one. I want to sit in my house. I know everything about this video game, but I don't know people, no shit. Neighbors gathered, exchanged, and created songs and dances. Let's say shared them as well, because those are roots, right? Folk roots. This is a part of the roots of the modern intertribal powwow. Yep, I've got full blood friends. I know, right? Dene would be the proper name, not Navajo. Another common instrument is the chording flute, shaped note or sacred harp singing, developed in the early 19th century. I would add the harp is ancient in origin. The early 19th century, as a way for itinerant singing instructors to teach church songs in rural communities. That came from folk music. Thank you very much. Pagan origin. They taught using songbooks that represented musical notation of tones and geometric shapes, cymatics, right? Vibration, creating form, or the organization of sand, water, fine powders. Look it up. Cymatics, hold on, Cymatics. By geometric shapes that associated a shape with a pitch. Aha, ancient knowledge. Sacred harp singing became popular in many Oklahoma rural communities regardless of ethnicity. Bullshit. Different groups had their versions and influence, okay? Later, the blues tradition, they're all valid. Just saying, I don't hate on people for learning from other groups, other tribes. Later, the blues tradition developed, but you need to know your own roots, with roots in the parallels to sacred music. By the early 20th century, jazz developed. I love jazz, born from a blend of ragtime, gospel, and blues. Anglo-Scots, Irish music, traditions gained a place in Oklahoma after the land run of 1889. Because of its size and portability, the fiddle, eh, yep, was the core of the early Oklahoma Anglo music. But other instruments such as the guitar, mandolin, banjo, and steel guitar were added later. Hmm, Fiddle was original, right? Various Oklahoma music traditions trace their roots to the British Isles, including cowboy ballads. We read about that earlier. Western swing, contemporary country, and Western. Mexican immigrant, hold on. Mexican immigrants, I'd also add that originally Utah was part of Mexico. Oh, until the deals happened, right? Okay, Mexican immigrants began to reach Oklahoma in the 1870s, bringing beautiful canciones and corridos, love songs, waltzes, and ballads along with them. Like American Indian communities, oh my God, listen to this, each rite of passage. Wow. The common person, they have no idea what that means. And I do mean RITE, rite of passage, in Hispanic communities is accompanied by traditional music. Yes, weddings, coming of age, there's songs for all of these things. It's a rite of passage, right? Next level. The acoustic guitar, string bass, and violin provide the basic instrumentation for Mexican music. Mexican music would also be influenced by the Spaniards, right? With maracas, flute, horns, or sometimes accordion filling out the sound. Other Europeans, such as Bohemians and Germans, settled in the late 19th century. Their social activities centered on community halls where local musicians played polkas and waltzes on the accordion, piano, and brass instruments. See, people used to gather. Music was a big deal, not video games. Later Asians contributed to the musical mix. Ancient music and dance traditions in the temples and courts of China, India, and Indonesia are preserved in Asian communities throughout this state. And popular song genres are continually layered onto these classical music forms. Everything comes from the ancient. It does. It just does. And that means tribal, and that means families. Tejano and New Mexico music. heard throughout the American Southwest and South Texas, is rooted in the music of Native American, Dene or Navajo, Paiute, Ute, right? All those groups are here in Utah. The Four Corners area specifically, I have been to that area. I have been to the New Mexico Dene Reservation hyphen Navajo. Hispanic Latino communities of the regions, Native American and Hispanic Latino communities of the regions. Tejano music is also heavily influenced by regional Mexican and country music, while New Mexico music is more influenced by Hispano, folk, and Western music. Both styles have influenced one another over the years and incorporated American popular musical style. Next, other American folk music. Title. Genres here range as widely as the definition of folk music itself. They have to look at the root word of that. Folk. Come on. But they don't go over that. They don't teach you that. You have to look that up. Etymology, right? Working definitions are based on the style and themes of the music genre. Regardless of its source, many are a part of the American folk music revival, including works by Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, The Weavers, Burl Ives, and others. More commercially oriented pop music version of folk emerged in the 60s. Plastic horse shit. Copying the Welsh. I noticed that. I looked at the Beatles and I go, that's a ripoff. I looked at the old Welsh musicians. No one's listening to that, in singing in Welsh. I did. I went and found it, including performers such as the Kingston Trio, the Lime Leaders, the Brothers Ford, Peter, Pal, and Mary. See that Christian overlay? Joan Baez, the Highwaymen. That's Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and I think Chris Christopherson. That's the Highwaymen, the famous song. Judy Collins, the new Christie Minstrels, folkish, and Gordon Lightfoot, as well as counterculture and folk rock performers, including Bob Dylan. It's whatever on Bob Dylan, another thief. My opinion, okay? It's just my opinion. All you Bob Dylan fans, okay, but the Birds, Arlo Guthrie, and Buffy, Buffy St. Marie. Folk composer and musician Robert Schmertz, Schmertz, composed and wrote pieces related to historical events in Western Pennsylvania. Okay, books. In 2004, NPR, blah, 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 Linda Ronstadt wrote the foreword for Curious Listener's Guide to American Folk Music. Whatever. Mainstream artists, I have a tendency to just tune out. Really, because they sold out to the industry. Their folk soul's gone. It's just money. The Never-Ending Revival, Rounder Records and the Folk Alliance by Michael F. Scully, University of Illinois Press, 2008. In '07, James P. Leary published, Polkabilly, Polk, yes, ability. How the Goose Island Ramblers redefined American redefined. There we go again, the changeover. Yep, the infiltration. Folk music, the overlay, which proposes as a redefinition of traditional American folk music and identifies a new genre of music from the upper Midwest known as polkabilly, which blends ethnic music, old-time country music, and polka. Boop-a, boop-a, boop-a. You hear that influence in some Mexican music. The boot, the book was awarded the boot. The book was awarded the American Folklore Society Chicago Folklore Prize for the best book in the field of folklore scholarship. Of course, it was. right? Overwrite the old school. That's what they did, right? 50s, 60s. Before that, you had more roots and folk music. Notable American folk roots musicians include Fiddlin' John Carson, 1868 to 1949, Logan English, 1928 to 83, Joe Hill, Ramblin' Jack Elliott. I'm not going to read all these time dates, but it's basically 1800s and then it comes up into the 1900s. I'm not reading all that. Muddy Waters, 1913 to 1980. Great. You got John Denver, 43 to 97. I actually like John Denver. He's pretty smooth, even though he is mainstream. B.B. King, 1925 to 2015. Man, he is the king. That dude had type 2 diabetes and he was playing into his 80s. That's impressive, man. Rhiannon Giddens, that's 1977. She's a year younger than me. She's way good. Like vocally, holy shit, that chick can sing. No joke. Groups and all these. I'm not going to read all this shit. All right, going down, going down. Film and TV, I don't give a shit. All right, there it is. That's all I'm doing tonight. Well, folk music revival. We'll just read a little bit on that. American folk music revival began during the 1940s and peaked in the popularity in the mid 60s. See, that's when they started shifting. Notice counterculture, drugs, pollution, rejecting your family. Oh, shit. Yes, Tavistock Institute related to the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's album, Aleister Crowley right on the front. Come on. Its roots went earlier in performers like Josh White, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read all this shit. Moving down. Early years, the folk revival. Oh, New York City. Center of the elite. The folk revival in New York City was rooted in the resurgent interest in square dancing and folk dancing there in the 40s. See, so there was some freedom for a while until corporations took over and destroyed and ruined music, in my opinion, which gave musicians such as Pete Seeger popular exposure. The folk revival, more generally, is a popular and commercial phenomenon, begins with the career of blah blah. I'm not going to read all this shit. I don't care. You look up all these different artists. It's all good. Okay, let's see. It is interesting to consider that had it not been for the explicit political sympathies, meaning manipulation of the weavers and other folk singers, or another way of looking at it, the hysterical anti-communism or manipulation of the Cold War, folk music would very likely have entered mainstream American culture. Oh, huh. So folk music was cruising along, and then all this anti-communism programming came in. Hmm. Oh, destruction of the family. Yeah. Yep. hmm Entered mainstream American culture in even greater force in the early 50s, perhaps making the second wave of revival nearly a decade later. 60s, redundant. Yep. Oh, wow. Look at this manipulation. It is pointed out. The media blackout of performers with alleged communist sympathies. That'd be easy to just label that on someone and knock them out. Or ties was so effective, keynote, that Israel Young. Hmm. a chronicler of the 60s folk revival who himself was drawn a bullshit into the movement through an interest in folk dancing. Wow. Communicated to Ron Ironman that he himself was unaware for many years of movements in the 30s and 40s. Bullshit. Antecedents in left wing political activism, communism, manipulation, horse shit. Mid 50s, acoustic guitar accompanied folk songs were mostly heard in coffee houses. That's where I played. Yep. Yeah, growing up, that was what was up. Couldn't go to a bar, but you could get a cup of coffee. Open air concerts and sing-alongs, hootenannies, and at college campus concerts, often associated with political dissent, manipulation. Yep, this is when folk music was being wiped out, pretty much. Commercialized, cheapened, taken away from family culture, right? Family bands sitting around playing together, communities coming together to rock supreme and have a hoedown, whatever. The so-called beatnik scene and dedicated singers of folk songs, as well as folk-influenced original material. Oh, as well. I love how they just degrade that. That's the center. Folk influence, nice key word, traveled through what was called the coffee house circuit across the US and Canada, home also to cool jazz. And the recitation, highly personal beatnik poetry. Some of that spoken word I do like. I've done slam poetry live in front of an audience, so I know. Two singers in the 50s who sang folk material but crossed over into the mainstream were Odetta and Harry Belafonte. You put a lime in the coconut, you stir it all around. You put a lime in the coconut. That was a cool song, though, I do admit. Both the Calypso, right? Both of whom sang Lead Belly. Josh White material. Odetta, who had trained as an opera singer. See, you used to be able to have to project with no mic. Let's see your average singer. See if they can do it. How does their voice sound without auto tune? I know there's some good singers out there, but performed traditional blues, spiritual, and songs by Lead Belly. Belafonte had hits with Jamaican calypso material, as well as the folk song Like. What is all this like? I mean, you see this bullshit? This is just disrespectful, in my opinion. Sentimental ballad Scarlet Ribbons, composed 1949. The revival at its height. It's going into all these record companies, horse shit that I don't care about. Waste of time. Let's see. Archivist and reissued recordings. Yeah, it's just more recordings. Buy this music. Yeah, no. Robert Johnson. Yep. Artists like the Carter Family, Robert Johnson, Blind Lemon Jefferson, never heard of him. Clarence Ashley, Buell Kazee, Uncle Dave McCone, Mississippi John Hurt, heard of him. Stanley Brothers, Jimmy Rogers, the Reverend Gary Davis, I don't know. Never heard of him. Okay, moving along. Ooh, yeah. Now we're talking Robert Bobcats Alley. Come on, get on the perch. Ethnic folk music. See also list of North American folk music traditions. All right. Ethnic folk music from other countries also had a boom during the American Folk Revival. The most successful ethnic performers of the revival were the Greenwich Village folk singers, Clancy Brothers and Tom McCam. Okay, moving along. Moving along. Oh, what's this? Clancy Brothers and Tommy McCam also sparked a folk music boom in Ireland in the 60s, illustrating the worldwide effects of the American folk music revival. Books such as popular bestseller, The Fireside Book of Folk Songs. See, notice? Fireside. You would gather around a fire and sing, right? Fireside Book of Folk Songs, 1947, which contributed to the folk song revival, featuring some materials and languages other than English, including German, Spanish, Italian, French, Yiddish, which is a combination of Hebrew language and German, and also Russian. Oh, that's cool. Repertoires of Theodore Bickel, Moraes and Miranda, Martha Schleim, also included Hebrew and Jewish material, as well as Afrikaans. That's Dutch, right? You know, influence in Africa and South Africa. It's like, I don't know, mixture of like French and I don't know exactly. French and Dutch, maybe. I'm not sure. The Weavers' first big hit, the flip side of Lead Bellies. Good night, Irene. Right? A top seller in its own right hold on. Top seller in its own right was in Hebrew. Zena, Zena, Zena. Huh. That's Tzena. And they, and later Joan Baez, who was of Spanish descent, occasionally included Spanish language material in their repertoires, as well as songs from Africa, India, and elsewhere. The commercially oriented folk music revival, notice that, revival as it existed in coffee houses, as it existed, that's where they took it from. Concert halls, radio, and TV was predominantly an English language phenomenon. It's all pop music, basically. Rock subsumes folk. Oh shit. Boom. What did I say about the Beatles being a bunch of bullshit? Social manipulation, in my opinion. That's what this whole British invasion thing was about in the 60s. Well, the drug culture is to destroy the family and community folk culture. Yeah, British invasion of the mid 60s helped bring an end to the mainstream popularity of American folk music. Kaboom! As a wave of British bands overwhelmed most of the American music scene, including folk. It was intentional. Damn, look at that shit. I knew it. My instinct led me down that path. I said, just like nobody's on farms anymore, everybody goes to the grocery store. Let me give you a number. It was 80% small business prior to this invasion. Catch it. Right? People got pushed off their land by big business. Consolidation of the land means seizing of power. The roots of the British invasion were in American folk. That's where that whole overlay manipulation comes in. Specifically, a variant known as skiffle, as popularized by Lonnie Donegan. However, most of the British invasion bands had been extensively influenced by rock and roll by the time their music had reached the United States and bore little resemblance to its folk origins. That is intentional, in my opinion, the overwrite. After Bob Dylan began to record with a rocking rhythm section and electric instruments in 65, pulling away from acoustic instruments, right? Natural sound. Many others, still young folk artists, followed suit. It influenced a whole generation. Manipulation. Meanwhile, bands like the Lev and Spoonful and the Byrds, whose individual members often had a background in the folk revival coffee house scene, they stole the folk lunch. Got it? Took your lunch money of the folk music. We're getting recording contracts. Boom, contracts, central. Look at that. Control. The folk tinged music played with the rock band line up. I also might add, they changed music to 440 hertz for the A note. It was originally Verdi's A, right? 432 hertz, or a variant thereof. That's me saying that. So what's that do? It changes the cymatics, okay? The form, the geometry created within water that is in your body and brain. It alters brain waves. What does 440 hertz look like? It looks like a scattered pattern. What does 432 look like? Like the sun, very clear pattern. It sped everything up, right? Excited everybody, confusion, static, right? Public appetite for the more acoustic music of the folk revival began to wane. You see this manipulation. Crossover hits, folk songs that became rock music scene staples. Sold it out. Yep, that's me saying that. Happened now and again. One well-known example is the song Hey Joe, copyrighted by folk artist Billy Roberts and recorded by rock singer guitarist Jimi Hendrix. I do like Hendrix. It's badass. But he was also an airborne ranger, right? Just as he was about to burst into stardom in 67. Note he died young. See, Hendrix figured shit out. What he started to do is sign with a whole bunch of different record companies. They had to fight each other instead of him. He was smart, man. That's why they took him out, because he was too smart, my opinion. The anthem Woodstock, which was written and sung by Joni Mitchell, while her records were still nearly entirely acoustic, and while she was labeled a folk singer, became a hit single for Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young when the group recorded a full-on rock version. More manipulation. I do like Joni Mitchell. Legacy, late 60s. The scene had returned to being more of a lower key aficionado phenomenon, also sizable annual acoustic music festivals. It was still going, couldn't completely get rid of it. Were established in many parts of North America during this period. The acoustic music coffee house scene. That's what I grew up in, man. Seriously, that's awesome. I'm so grateful for that, because that's not here as much anymore, man. But it was big in the 90s. The acoustic music coffee house scene survived at a reduced scale, though the luminary younger singers and songwriters of the 60s, American folk music revival, has influenced songwriting and musical styles worldwide. Yup, because everybody follows the tone of America. And that's about all I'm going to do. They're going into the background of all these different singers. And I'm not going to read all that, but I'll go to the end to see. Nope, that's it. Okay, cool. That was a long one. Anyway, that's all I'm doing on that. Wow. That was hardcore. Awesome. Now I've been wanting to do that one for a while. I've been thinking about it. It's been gnawing on me. I'm like, to get back to the root, right? Yep. I'm going back to the root. Folk soul memory. Hot song, yeah. Roll down into my folk soul. Hot song, yeah. Y'all know what the root is. Family, tribe, heart, soul, old soul, shine, oh, shine on. Grandfather say, grandmother know, say, put your folk heart soul root down, circle around. Hey, what I see fly on, yeah. Going to the mountain, take me to the sea, deep in the forest. I sing a song for my wisdom. See freedom, be the folk now. Now root down, grandmother knows, grandfather sees a heart song, always loving memory of a root down. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. and it fell away. There's a deep song and a soul down. Folk heart song, folk soul remedy. Heart soul, soul, circle round, spiral down, up on my roof down, down, high, oh, circle round the central fire, oh, heart, soul, oh, soul, memory, remedy. Oh.